Formative speech. So first off, I have a question for you all. How many of you have gone skydiving and or thought about going skydiving? Okay, maybe you think skydiving would be cool.
It's pretty cool.
Right on. Well, I think there's something cooler than skydiving, and that's an extreme sport known as wingsuit flying. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So, I'm going to cover the history of wingsuit flying, the physics behind it, whether it's dangerous or not, a few of the achievements of wingsuit flying, and then I'll take questions at the end. But before I get into all of that, I have this pretty spiffy video to show you about wingsuit flying. Maybe. If it will play. Aw. Okay, I guess the video's not going to play. So, I will jump right into the history. Wingsuit flying, of course, originated from the first parachute jump in 1912. Which created the ability for people to jump out of airplanes. However, the concept of attaching wings to the skydiving suit did not come around until the 1930s, where people attempted to construct wings for their suits made out of canvas, wood, steel, whalebone, materials like that. Unfortunately, these wings had an inherent flaw in them, and that's they affected the deployment of the parachute. So without a proper deployment of the parachute, it resulted in 72 of 75 of the pioneers of wingsuit flying to perish while testing their suits. Because of this, the United States Parachute Association banned the use of wings with skydiving suits. However, the sport did not end there. About 20 years later, there was a man called Christoph Adams. He was a German parachutist, and he attached webbed wings to his skydiving suit, which did manage to slow descent rate enough and create enough stability that the USPA lifted the ban on attaching wings to a skydiving suit. The modern father of the wingsuit, however, can be credited to Patrick Desjardins. He is a French parachutist, and he created the three-wing concept, as Tim shown, and he created the concept of adding webbing between the legs, which created even more stability and affected the descent rate even more. So, how does it all work? It works through the concept of airfoil. That's the concept that when weight meets lift, the rate of descent can be slowed and an object can be moved through the air. It's the same concept used on boats for water. Your body becomes a flat surface, and the gravity that pulls your body down catches the air in the wings and causes you to lift up and soar and glide through the air. It also works off of the concept of glide ratio, the relationship between lift, drag, and weight. Or, in simpler terms, it's the relationship between your distance forward to your distance downward. Flyers use various body positions based off of whether they're going for time or distance to maintain a descent rate or a glide rate. You can see flyers can maintain a descent rate of 50 to 60 miles an hour or a glide rate of 70 to 90 miles an hour. However, the wingsuit is not designed to slow descent enough to land, so a parachute is still needed. So, obviously with any extreme sport, it is dangerous. Jumping out of an airplane is dangerous. You have to clear the airplane, the flyer has to maneuver into the right positioning, or else they could find themselves in trouble. However, the wingsuit flyers sometimes choose to base jump, which is even more dangerous. Base jumping is jumping from buildings, antennas, spans, which is also known as bridges, or earth, cliffs. They lose two advantages that they have jumping out of an airplane when they choose to base jump. The first is height. You don't get the extra time, the extra height to properly maneuver yourself into the position for the wingsuit to work, and you run the risk of hitting the structure you're jumping off of. And of course, with any skydiving event, there is the risk of mechanical failure. That is, the suit doesn't properly work and produce airfoil and glide ratio like it should, or the parachute doesn't properly deploy, in which case it's a very bad landing. Alright, so it is a very dangerous sport, and as such it has some requirements to get into it. Besides the cost of training courses, which are not mandatory but highly recommended, the USPA has put a minimum number of jumps required to jump out of an airplane or off of a base using a wingsuit. That's 200 jumps if you're with an instructor, and 500 jumps if you want to do it solo. Of course, wingsuit flying also requires a wingsuit, which can cost as much as $600 just for a basic suit, and more than twice that if you want to get a wingsuit designed for better glide ratio or better stability and maneuverability. Alright, so what can wingsuit flyers achieve? Well, there's two people who've done pretty notable things using a wingsuit. It's Yuli Sputnik Gegenschab and Shin Ito. Sputnik was the first person to set a record for distance in flying with a wingsuit. He jumped from about 17,450 feet out of an aircraft, and he flew this path from over the Innis Moor, over the Galway Bay to Ireland, right around Innervan. He flew 10.93 miles, maintained a speed of about 155 miles per hour, but the really noticeable thing about this achievement is he beat the airline craft that flies that route every day in 7 minutes. He flew it in 5 minutes and 45 seconds. The next person is Shinichi Ito. He broke Sputnik's record, flew from a height of about 33,000 feet, flew a distance of 11.68 miles, and maintained a speed of about 178 miles per hour. He is currently in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest distance flown with wingsuits. Alright, so now that I've talked about the history, a little bit about the physics, dangers and costs involved with getting into it, I just have a final note to say that obviously wingsuit flying proves that mankind achieves things that bend the rules of nature. It's innovative and people have the drive to do it. So if it's something that interests you, I urge you to go out and find that drive and go have fun and do it, because I'm sure it'll be an experience you won't forget. As an additional note, to cite the sources I used for this information, various news articles about the people I talked about, as well as this website called birdman.com, the website maintained by people who actively participate in the sport. So I will now take any questions. Yay. You're good.